Game balance is identity management. Whenever a game is patched or updated, it's the creators protecting what they think the game is at that point in time. If you have a shooter like Doom, but people only use the chainsaw because it's the best weapon, it's no longer a shooter, it's a saw-er. You get the idea. So, in this hypothetical, the game is balanced to bring the chainsaw back into place and let the other fun weapons breathe. That's what game balance is really all about, and it's hard. Despite developers' best efforts, some games lose their way anyway. I ship a Theseus that looks nothing like itself after years of small tweaks and adjustments that slowly eroded its core. No doubt one of the prime examples of endless discussion about game balance online is on Overwatch. Overwatch has gone through so much change in the last decade that it's not even Overwatch anymore. It's Overwatch 2, a sequel in name only. Hero shooters are particularly difficult to balance, as each character is really a fixed set of game mechanics packaged in a personality. Genji is always going to be a cybernetic ninja with swords and shuriken. That aspect of him is immutable. All successful characters have a strong identity whose base kit interlocks with the other mechanisms of the game. The better it is, the less you have to change it later on. The more it does change, the more volatile the character. We can actually measure this volatility with data. Tracer is Overwatch's mascot hero, and arguably the best designed hero in any game ever made. She's perfect conceptually and mechanically, which makes her the ideal baseline. Overwatch released 111 months ago at the time of recording. Since then, she's received a measly 19 changes to her kit. Mostly the Overwatch 2 team ping-ponging between 5.5 and 6 damage. Make up your minds, guys, come on. Anyway, using these two values and some math, we can get a volatility score for Tracer, 1.8. Let's compare that with Genji, who's received 32 changes in the same amount of time. He gets 3.04. Looking further, we can see the top 10 most stable heroes: Echo, Ashe, Venture, Widowmaker, Winston. When a hero fits their niche well, they find success in Overwatch, regardless of how fresh they are. On the other hand, we can also see the top 10 most volatile heroes, and here is when things get more interesting. Sombra has been a challenge since she was added in November of 2016. For context, Sombra is all about disabling players. She hacks abilities, neutral health kits, and can teleport and go invisible. Balancing the character that disables abilities in your ability-oriented game was always going to be a nightmare. Either they do nothing, or they take control of the match. That's what most of the heroes on the bottom 10 do, with a few exceptions. Orisa has been reworked several times, and it took the game quite a while to figure out what to do with her. Most of her initial kit were just abilities from other heroes that were slightly different and grafted onto her, and her high health, low cooldown shield slowed matches to a crawl. On the other hand, there was Doomfist, the hypermobile assassin who can fly in from across the map and whose combos quickly shut down any support even an inch out of line. Doomfist was high skill, but if a player properly took the reins of him, he was unstoppable. But if you had no idea what you were doing with him, he was useless. Feast or famine. Most of the characters here either disable their enemies against their will, or simply lack an identity to their character. Balancing in Overwatch is ultimately about fitting heroes in with the identity of the game. Those with a strong identity and do their own thing find success, and those that don't constantly need to be balanced. This data doesn't explain everything, and there are a ton of factors that go into Overwatch's decline as a game. But you could reasonably conclude that one of its struggles with balance is from the introductions of heroes with poor or antithetical identities that incrementally led Overwatch to stray from its original identity. That's Overwatch, but you can apply this system to any game with patch notes. Let's look at other hero shooters. Apex Legends is all about movement, navigation, and information. The most stable legends complement the gameplay loop and provide value to their teammates. The bottom ones cheat by disabling enemy abilities or bypass systems other legends have to work for. In a battle royale, time is money, and the most efficient players usually come out on top. Alter being able to loot any death crate remotely is crazy strong, so that obviously needs to be pulled back. How about a tactical shooter? Valorant is position, timing, and economy. Like Apex, the most stable agents engage with the core foundation in an interesting way, providing information, being aggressive, setting up good defenses. The most errant agents, again, cheat by circumventing the foundation. Free damage, free positioning, free information, even free weapons. Chambers' Headhunter and Tour de Force can't be all he needs for a round. Get in line, buddy. It's most interesting for Marvel Rivals. The game isn't even a year old at this point, but very few heroes have been changed or reworked, if at all, which is impressive given its roster already. Time will tell if this minimal change trend continues, especially with the promise of a hero per month. But for now, it makes sense with this framework. Spider-Man has been around for over 60 years. His identity is as solid as it gets. He just needs to zip around on his webs and punch things. As long as they don't give him a gun, he'll find success in the hands of players. That philosophy clearly worked for NetEase. All the heroes in this game feel good to play, and their identities are strong, even if they take some creative liberties with the property. For hero shooters and most other character-centric games, balance is a matter of identity. Stray too far, and your character will feel nothing like how they were or how the player expects them to play. But sometimes you do want to stray far. When your game is all about discovery and exploration, straying from the beaten path is exactly what you want your players to do. In a game like Elden Ring, balance changes are not exactly top of mind. The game has PvP, but it's more of a sideshow than the main event. Aren't balance patches for what is mostly a single-player game kinda weird? I started Elden Ring day one as an arcane build, without really knowing what that meant. Then later, From decided to buff arcane by a lot, so suddenly the game became much easier. Still brutal, don't get me wrong. But now Bleed actually did something. In the expansion, the final boss was giving a ton of people trouble.
I roll, bitch! God damn it. God damn it.
So From made it a little easier. But now, you can never play the original version of that boss. It's strange, right? Changing the balance of a single-player game post-launch? Especially for a game that's all about exploration. Part of the identity of single-player games is the discovery. Won't want to be spoiled by reading something you shouldn't have. Patch notes can spoil big reveals if they're not careful. Spoilers for God of War 2018, skip to this time if you don't want to be spoiled. Imagine you're playing through God of War completely blind, and out of curiosity you read a newly published update in your library with one note that goes something like, increase the flame damage for the Blades of Chaos by 2. What? Blades of Chaos? Huh? Kratos gets his blades back? Now you're spoiled. That would be such a shame. But patch notes can do that because they're objective. I don't even look at the patches before I finish a game I'm enjoying because of this. And it's only when I'm done with it that I read what they changed. Like in Doom: The Dark Ages, on May 29th, 2025. Reduced effectiveness of the super shotgun against the Hell Knight and certain enemy armors. Why? Why make that change 2 weeks after launch when no doubt some people already finished it? It is strange. But from a development standpoint, it does make some sense. Remember, this is just like the chainsaw problem. Doom is a shooter, not a super shotgunner. Any change is made with the intent to realign the game's self-image, and anonymous player data is worth its weight in gold for metrics. Measuring exactly how powerful players feel they are, how fast they're progressing through the game, if they favor certain items or equipment. If you can see exactly how much players are using something, why wouldn't you use that data to make your game the best version of itself? But it's also tricky. Some people go in blind and want it to stay that way until they've had the full experience. It's a balance between making the game as good as it can be but not doing it so soon that it ruins the organic progress, power, and especially surprise of players. What is the best version of a game though? The newest update? Version 1.0? How do you measure how good a game is in time? Where its peak was? Especially games that intentionally evolve over time. The Finals is less than 2 years old, but it already feels like a completely different game from launch. Its 7 seasons of updates have brought an incredible amount of new weapons, environments, events, and gameplay mechanics that slowly molded the game. In my first video, I detail how lights, mediums, and heavies each have a role to play, and the weapons and equipment reflect that. At the time, it was true. Now, not so much. Embark's approach to game balance has been pretty fair in general, but a lot of the creativity has also been stripped away in favor of a more digestible game. The Finals was all about using your equipment and the environment to its fullest potential. Pick a goofy loadout, strap C4 to an explosive canister, make a plane of goo to fly across the arena. Possibilities were crazy in the early days. One of the best examples of this strange balance is with the Model 1887 shotgun. It's a classic weapon, from Terminator to Modern Warfare. It's a shotgun, point and shoot. Nothing special aside from its lever action. Season 1, it worked like a shotgun should. Get close and pull the trigger. Around Season 4, Embark started to adjust it more and more. Pellet damage, pellet count, spread. In Season 8, this thing is completely different. Crazy narrow spread and weirdly low damage. Over time, small incremental changes eroded the identity of the model to more of a rifle with spread. You have to be really accurate with the model now. Why? What other video game shotgun behaves like this? Now, a lot of people just don't use it. A lot of the changes to the Finals are like this gun. Nukes were too good, so they had to go. 2 frag grenades were too good, so one was taken away. Stun gun was, well, actually they can keep that one. Nullifier is way better. These things were fun in the beginning, but as time went on, people became too good with them, and thus they had to be changed. Its fun identity compromised in the name of a flatter experience. Something more fair. Less fun, but ultimately more fair. I don't think that's what people really want out of the Finals. But what do people really want? There are endless posts, comments, and opinions on how a specific game should be balanced or changed, but rarely does a community actually have a say in the direction of the game's development. Some friendly developers welcome and encourage feedback, much like how Unknown Worlds utilized its built-in ticket system for Subnautica. User reports of bugs and comments that led to real action and shaped the final version of the game. Most of the time, however, it seems as though the voices of the people fall on deaf ears. But it's not the fault of the studio, or the people. Developers are gamers too. They watch and read everything about their game. Sometimes they're aware of something, but just don't know how to fix it. It's just an awkward situation. A team can't just reply to someone and say, "Your idea is crap." That would be terrible PR. But developer silence can be frustrating too. So, what's the solution? In the old days, fans would often create their own rules in the games that people were playing on private servers and custom lobbies. Turn off weapons that are too good, or adjust health and damage values. Some of these were so popular that they became their own mods, and games like Counter-Strike and Dota would have never existed if players didn't take the rules into their own hands. A community patch is a bridge between the developers and the players. In an ideal scenario, players would have a tool in-game that let them modify whatever values they wanted. Take the Model 1887 from the Finals, for example. If players could adjust the gun's variables in custom games, the community could submit a revision that could be implemented into the live version. If the development team doesn't like it, they could ignore it. But chances are some of those changes would go through, and the game, the community, and the development team would all improve as a result. This would be no small endeavor, requiring significant development time to be put forth to create a workshop for the sole purpose of receiving player feedback. But in some cases, it would be worth it. Projects like Smogon for competitive Pokemon have been doing this for nearly 20 years, and it leads to a better experience than what Nintendo left their players with. Same thing with Project Plus for Smash Bros. Brawl. Ironically, Overwatch already has a workshop mode that has everything you could ever want from custom games, but there is no avenue for Blizzard to receive feedback from players directly using this tool. If Overwatch, Apex, Valorant, the Finals, or any other live game had a pipeline like this, those who care most would have their voices heard, tensions would simmer, and the games we all enjoy could be better as a result. Balance isn't as much about metrics or win rates as much as it is about protecting a game's core. A careful puzzle that forms the full picture. The creator builds the world, but the players are the ones who populate it. The people are part of the identity of the game. Shouldn't they have a say in how it's made? After all, developers are gamers first, and some gamers become developers. We're all playing each other's games all the time. Fans can become modders, and modders can become developers. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Maintaining an identity for a game isn't easy, but it doesn't have to be done alone. Games evolve, players adapt, and with just a bit of patience and nuance, they can grow and change with all of us. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. This has been Game DNA. Stay smart, doubt what you know, and have fun.